One. Welcome back to Making It Moments. Today I'm joined by Will France, a very good friend of mine who I'm on the psychology course with at Northumbria. Today Will's coming on just to chat about his life and we'll dive into a few topics. So Will, just to begin with, we're in Northumbria University right now. What led you here?
Well, man, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really cool to come on. I really appreciate what you're doing on the podcast and stuff with the general sports psychology, mental health. It's great. What brought me to Northumbria? So it's sort of a twofold answer, really. At the time, you might be able to see it now, I was struggling with psoriasis and I really wanted to stay close to home because like doctor's appointments, like support from my family.
Could you tell the listener what that is just so that they're aware?
Yeah, it's basically just like eczema, essentially. Like it was just quite bad eczema. Not my confidence a bit. It is what it is. It's one of them things that's not going to go away. Got to get used to it. But I'm really comfortable with it now, and I think being close to home really helped with that. So that was one of my biggest things with coming to Northumbria was that I'm close to home. I've got that support, you know. And then the second one being, because of that, it was essentially a toss-up between Newcastle and Northumbria. And I knew two people, one of each went to Newcastle, Northumbria, both did psychology. The guy who was doing it at Northumbria loved it. The guy who was doing it at Newcastle, no shame to Newcastle, but wasn't as into it. So it was kind of just a made-up decision for me.
Nice one, bro. Well, I'm glad you made that decision because we've obviously met. And first year we never actually spoke really. I think there was one exam where I gave you a pencil. I don't know if you ever remember that.
Oh, yeah.
But after that it's fine, don't worry. And then after that, obviously we in second year we grew closer. And I think one of our bonds, if you agree, is the fact that we're both quite aspirational about uni life, about getting good grades, about doing good things, and that's one of the reasons why I brought you on. So just something I wanted to dive into is the whole idea of a career, and it's something which is always in the back of your mind. I know we have conversation, I know you've got a general idea of what you would like to do. Now when it comes to making decisions about your career, how have you found that and where are you at right now in that decision process?
So as you say, process, I'm nowhere near there yet. Like I initially started thinking about sports psychology like yourself, which is, you know, we spent a lot of time together doing sports psychology as a module. I've sort of gone away from that a little bit, looking more at organizational, occupational psychology, how people work in like business environments and things like that. And I am still really thinking about it. I'm not sure what the next steps are. I've been reaching out to a lot of people, applying to a lot of grad schemes, trying to get some advice from people who know more than me. You know, I know I'm not the finished article. I know I need to do work still. So I thought, you know what? The one thing that I can do right now is get this degree, you know, smash that out and get as much relevant experience as possible for like the general area of occupational psychology. And then go from there really once I get the time past undergraduate to make that decision.
So obviously when I first asked you that question, you said it's a process and you kind of honed in on that. When it comes to this process, and obviously we're the same age, have you turned 21? You've turned 21?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was bloody at your party.
What the hell?
So we're both 21. And, you know, at this age, you do have to start making decisions, like we say about after uni, what you're going to do with your career. How have you found that pressure of being young and having to make that decision?
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal, man. My girlfriend is a year above as well, so it's kind of put it more so on me in a weird way. Like I've really felt the pressure of having to make those decisions because, I mean, the amount that people have done for me in my life, like my mum, my dad, my sister, they've supported me so much, and I feel like it's such a waste to not do something, you know.
So
like,
why does your girlfriend being a year above kind of add to that pressure?
I suppose because she was going through this process the year before. Like she was looking at masters, jobs, things like that when we were only in second year. You know, we were silly little second years. I was in blooming, what was it, hobos every Tuesday. Like it wasn't, you know. But I think having that sort of little bit of pressure was really nice. It eased me into it because I was like, right, I don't need to worry about this now, but I know I will worry about it.
Just because you could see her going through the process first, yeah.
Yeah. So it very much eased me into it. Like I knew I didn't have to make this decision right then and there, but I can start thinking about it. I can prepare myself for it, and I think that's really helped me a lot with making these decisions.
So when it comes to the uni experience, now there are people out there who argue that you don't need to necessarily go to uni, especially with the modern world, and these days you can get jobs through pretty much, I mean, people get jobs through social media. People can make money through social media. They can make money online. When it comes to the uni experience, what has that meant for you, and what have you took away from this experience? Because from my end, I know how powerful it's been for me. I know the degree's been great, of course, and I've learned great things like our sports psych module, but I feel like it builds you like a person. So how has the experience been for you, and what are your takeaways?
This is the really boring answer of independence. You know, living by myself.
It's true though, it's true.
It is a part of it. But ironically, I guess, the main thing that I've taken from this, like skill-wise, general skill-wise, is like ambition, really. Like, it was never one of those things that like I've thought about being a good thing, right? Like, you always see that, like Ozymandias, do you know what I mean? Like, doing that at GCSE, he had too much ambition.
What's Ozymandias?
It's a poem. It was a poem that we did at A-level.
What's the poem about?
It's basically about this ancient ruler in like Egypt or something who was horrible, and then his whole empire's gone because it's like set way in the future, and the only thing that's left is this statue of him, and he's like a horrible bloke. So I always thought that ambition made you a horrible person, I suppose, through that early exposure. And I think being at uni and being around people like yourself and like my girlfriend, even, like, I've realised that having ambition isn't such a terrible thing. As long as it's moderated, I think it's great. And ironically, I think I've developed that, because usually it's what drives people to go to uni, I feel like, ambition. You know, having the ambition of a certain career. You go into uni to get that career. But I think that I've really developed it since being at uni, actually.
So I do want to dive into that idea of ambition potentially being a bit of an issue, a bit of something which, like you're saying, a bit of a negative thing to have. But how have you gained ambition from uni? I know you said from being around certain people and your girlfriend, but are there any examples of where you can remember a time when you started to feel a bit more ambitious, like maybe in your first year or your second year? Like, do you remember a period where you started to feel a bit more ambition within you?
Well, it definitely was not in first year. that was for different things. But a lot changed sort of early second year. Met new people, was really pushing myself sort of socially. And then realised, like, you know what, I really like meeting new people, helping new people, and I want to be able to do that to the best of my ability. And I want to be able to, well, first of all, like, I'm at uni, I want to get this first class degree. You know, like, I want to push for that. Because I feel like, why not? You know, I've put all this time and effort into it.
You may as well.
I may as well get like the best out of it. And then similarly, I want to get the most out of the rest of what comes with uni, in terms of like meeting people that could be like useful connections for me in the future, and really exploring things past just the degree, you know. So like, I suppose sports, not much, but I did like climbing and stuff in second year, and that was really fun. And then like helping with research, I'm currently doing a project with Jenny Patterson to do with relationships. That's really interesting, and that's something that I got because I was being ambitious, you know, and I thought I'd really enjoy that experience, and I am doing.
Yeah, so I completely agree. I think it is those things around the degree which build you as a person, and being someone who's a seeker is so good, and you've definitely got that within you. Now, ambition, it's interesting. So when do you think ambition does start to become a negative thing?
Ooh, I'm not a philosopher, but I think
give it your best shot.
I think sort of when it crosses over with arrogance, really. Like, if you're being really ambitious and then you're sacrificing other positive attributes for the sake of ambition, I think that's when it becomes a bit of a problem. Like, I think I try and live, like, the one value that I try and live by is kindness. I try and be as kind as possible. And if I'm being ambitious, and then that means I'm not being kind, so say there's a meeting for a job interview or whatever, but I've planned to do something else that day that's really important for someone, like maybe I have to drive them to the airport, you know, they're going on holiday, they're going somewhere, and then I decide to turn around and say, no, I'm not doing that, I'm going to go to this interview. Bit of an abstract thing, it's never happened, but like, I think that would be
good example
case. Yeah, thank you. I think that would be when I would consider ambition to get in the way of other positive things, which makes it a negative thing for me.
No, I hear you, and I know I found times in my life where I'm sacrificing time with my girlfriend because I'm trying to be ambitious. I remember I always find it interesting. I don't know if you ever felt this before, but I feel like sometimes when people get into a relationship, they feel like it's something which can hold them back. Because naturally, you spend a lot of time with your partner, and you know there's that typical culture you can see on social media and within people where it's like every second has to be towards your passion, every second has to be towards being driven towards a purpose. And obviously, I've come to learn that being in a good relationship is a driver for that. I'm more ambitious because I have a good relationship. And I've definitely had moments though where, you know, I'm doing uni work with my girlfriend and I think that's our quality time because I'm with her, but it's not. Me and you both know that. And ambition can get in the way, and it can start to become a bit of a negative driving force where you are starting to lose yourself. You're maybe not sleeping as much. So I completely hear that. And I've definitely had that before. And I speak to Scarlett, my girlfriend, about this, and you know, I've got quite a lot of ambitions, you know, with sports psychology, and you know, I know she's more content with just, you know, becoming a teacher, having a nice life, having a nice family, and we all have different ambitions. And the way I like to kind of see it is separating your ambitions, like career, from your actual personal life and not letting those merge. Have you ever, with your relationship, noticed maybe those things are starting to clash a bit because you're seeing them both get in the way of each other when really they both have separate sort of relationships? You see what direction I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, I do. And I think you've asked the right person, really, because, I mean, Josie, she's down in London at the minute. Josie, my girlfriend. She's down in London doing a master's, and that has sort of gotten in the way. Like, her ambition to then go into public health, that's maybe gotten in the way, traditionally, of our relationship, but we've worked around it. You know, I'm more than happy doing long distance. I see her enough. Like, it's great. And it just means that whenever we do have the opportunity to see each other, we make it purposeful, you know? Like, yes, similar to you and Scarlett, we spend quality time together in the library, you know, doing a bit of work if we've got some deadlines coming up. We did that like even last year when she was doing her dissertation and stuff. But I do think that if you want it enough, you can absolutely have ambition and have a relationship.
But I completely agree, and I think people think they get in the way of each other, but it's a separate relationship, and it's just understanding the boundaries. Now, in terms of boundaries, at uni, there's obviously a drinking culture, right? And I know you're a moderate drinker. You may tell me a different story, but when it comes to uni and the drinking culture, what's your sort of relationship with alcohol and, you know, that side of the uni experience? Has it kind of become something you do less from first year to third year? Is it something you've been a bit like, oh, I'm drinking a bit too much, maybe I'm forcing the drinking? Like, what's your relationship with alcohol within your uni experience?
That's a good question. Obviously, it is really central to university life. Whether that's a good thing or not, you know, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the owner of a bar, they'd say it's pretty good. But, I think first year I did drink quite a bit. Obviously, freshers, there's not as much academic pressure, so you do have that time, and you've got, you know, you want to meet new people, make new friends. So I did do quite a lot of drinking. It's not something that I am hateful of. Like, I don't punish myself for that. Like, I think it's so counterintuitive to punish yourself for something like that. And I think I really got a good balance in second year. As I said earlier, like, a lot changed in my life start of second year, and I think I really found a good medium almost. You know, I was really focused on work, finished on a first, and did that really well. Looked into a lot of different opportunities. But I also did have a lot of drinking. You know, I did. Like, I enjoy it. I enjoy going to the pub with my mates. I enjoy going out. It's a good release almost. And that's just a personal thing. I don't think that applies to everybody. I think drinking can be negative. And if you find that you're doing it for the wrong reasons, definitely maybe reconsider. But I think whenever I've done it, at least for the last year or so, it has just been, you know what, I've earned it. Like, I've been really busy today, I've been really busy this week. I can go to the pub, I can treat myself, I can have a beer. You know, and I think the main thing about my relationship with alcohol at the minute is to not feel guilty about drinking. As I say, there's limits to it. There's probably a point where I would catch myself, I'd be like, whoa, did I need that, like, 17th VK? But that was Fred. That was been there. But but yeah, like there are moments where you catch yourself and you think, maybe is this too much? But I think the biggest takeaway is, even if it is too much, don't feel guilty about it, you know, because it's a choice that you've made. And what? I feel like there's definitely two camps within uni of not drinking at all, holding almost up on a pedestal, like, no, I'm sober, I don't want to partake in that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think there are undertones there of shaming people that do drink, and then that sort of creates a rift between the people that do drink and people that don't drink. And I think, you know, it's just a thing. It's not...
Either way, it shouldn't matter, really. Yeah,
exactly.
It's everyone's personal choice.
Yeah, and obviously I've got a fashion show coming up, so I'm not drinking anywhere near as much, because I'm doing an odd balls walk. But I've been doing a lot more like work. I've got a job at a pub now, so I'm working a lot more. I'm really focusing on dissertation. Obviously, I had 2 essays due recently, so I have cut back recently. Not really intentionally, just sort of other things have come up, and I don't feel I need to have that release, but it is just a form of release. You know?
So more in moderation for you.
Yeah.
Now, I want to dive into a bit of a topic when it comes to dealing with emotions, dealing with mental struggles, dealing with mindset in life. Now, you can share as much as you like to. Within your time at uni, within your time at life, obviously you mentioned at the start, you had a bit of lack of confidence due to the eczema condition. What have been your sort of mental struggles in life, and how have you combated them?
So that is a really good one. I think regret is probably the biggest one. But I've almost used that as a positive thing as well. I think emotions all have a purpose, and I think once you realise that, once you understand that, you'll be much better off, right? Like, obviously, I feel like loads of people do it, but I've done loads of self-reflection on like choices that I've made.
How do you do that?
Just in bed at like unhealthy times of the night, really. You know, like 3 o'clock in the morning when you can't get to sleep, and you're like, ooh, 2019. But I don't know. I do just sort of reflect a lot to myself. I don't journal or anything, which could be useful, but I do just think quite a lot. I do think about that stuff, and I think regret is the biggest one for me. Like people that I maybe don't speak to as much anymore, or opportunities that I wish I'd taken. But then the way that I reframe that is, right, I can sit there and dwell on the past and be all like, you know, negative about it, or I take this, I make it into something productive, and I don't let that happen again. You know, I'm confident in the choices that I make. I think about the choices when I'm making them, and then I make the right ones. And even if they're not the right ones, you know, that's the choice that I've made. I've got to be comfortable with that. So I think while it is a negative emotion, you know, it sometimes gets the better of me. I'm human. It upsets me. But if you can realise that there is a purpose for that, then it's much easier to deal with, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about thinking about it and the self-reflection, and I completely agree, because at the end of the day, I mean, unless someone's living in a perfect world, you're not going to live life without having no regrets. I know the no regrets sort of saying, but I think that's more like everything happens for a reason. I'm going to use this to learn from it, and everything does take you down the right path. When it comes to that self-reflection, I put something on my Instagram story the other day about how sometimes reflecting on the past becomes a point where you're thinking about a certain thing so much, maybe a certain regret, to the point where you're almost digging so much in self-reflection to the point where you're not getting anywhere. You're just constantly digging, you know, a pile of crap. And I found that with some things which I struggle with, particularly like maybe some things to do with like retrospective jealousy with my girlfriend, in terms of thinking about people she's been with before me. I think that's something you can struggle with a lot as a man in particular. Have you ever found maybe certain regrets in your life you've been self-reflecting on too much to the point where actually you don't need to think about this anymore? You've done enough thought in terms of that certain topic. Now it's just maybe if the thought comes in, let's just let it sit and then maybe just let it pass, because thinking about it maybe will just make you spiral, if you see where I'm coming from.
Yeah. There is definitely that point where it becomes unproductive.
Yeah.
I've definitely had that before. It's one of those things that I'm getting more and more comfortable with. I think it's going back. It's a process. I I'm never going to be perfect at it. I am always going to have regrets, and that is okay. You know, like there's a million choices that you make each day. You're going to regret a few of them, and some of them are bigger than other ones. And the particularly bigger ones are going to be, they're going to stick with you for a lot longer. I think that's natural, you know, like you always wonder what would I have been like, but the way that I always think about it is if I'd made any other decision, I wouldn't be where I am right now. You know, maybe I wouldn't have such great mates. Maybe I wouldn't have such a great girlfriend. Maybe any number of things.
You'll be the person you are right now.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm on a journey, I'm on a process of accepting that and being fully comfortable in that. I think I've come a long way in maybe the last year and a half, 2 years, about that sort of thing. I've done a lot of reflection, you know, as I say, late night at bed, just thinking about things, and I think I've come a long way, but there's definitely still a long way to go. So I do think there's some thoughts that come into my mind, maybe a bit unproductive, but I'm not going to hold it against myself, you know.
Yeah, and like you say, it is a journey, and the journey's never really it never will really have a destination. You're never going to get to some point in life and go, well, man, it's done. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the journey, and we have uncertainties and we don't know where we're going in life, have you ever considered what your why is in life? Why you get up in the day and carry on with life? Why you are ambitious for your uni work? Why you're aspirational? What is Will's why?
So you mentioned this before the podcast. So I did do a lot of thinking about this. It's one of your big things about what's your why, and I see it sort of threefold, right? So there's a history, there's a present, and there's a future, right? So in the past, my why was always I've got a great relationship with my parents. I love my mum. Just gonna say that. But my relationship with my dad specifically, I looked up to him a lot when I was little, and I still do. I think he's a great man. I think he's a great bloke. And I think my why used to be to make him proud of me. I mean, I didn't see him a lot when I was little because he was busy working, like he needed to provide for the family, understandable. And I don't hold that against him at all, I'd just like to say. But that used to be my why. And then at the present, I think I have changed that why, because it maybe isn't the best thing, the most productive thing.
How come?
To be looking for validation externally.
Okay. That sort of side of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not coming from you, in a way.
Yeah. And I've sort of reframed that in myself to then consider my why to be being someone that I am proud of. You know, and instead of having that externally, having it internally. Like,
but then that will make your dad proud. That will make your mum proud by starting with you. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And that's... So it's technically the same, but it's just a reframing of it, essentially. Like, I still want to make my parents proud. You know, as I said way earlier in the episode, I am so grateful to my parents for everything that they've done, and I want to make something of myself to make them proud. But I do also want to make myself proud. I want to be someone that's, like, kind, gentle, but also maybe willing to stand by my own beliefs sometimes and have difficult conversations with people, which is something that I've not been able to do in the past. And that would be someone that I'm proud of. And then the third part, going forward, I just thought about this. I was talking to Braden about this because I was literally having this conversation right now with
Braden's
Braden.
on our course. He's Will's housemate.
I was having this just before I left the house. And I thought maybe the third part of that is that I then want to be a father that has children that are proud of me and that want to make me proud almost. Like they see me as a role model in life the same way that I see my dad as a role model. And I think if I manage that, obviously it's way off in the future now, but if I manage that, I'll be very, very happy.
No, that's really awesome, bro. And I think you've got to live life through the lens of your own eyes. And I guarantee you, if you make yourself proud, you will most certainly make your dad proud and your mum proud and the people around you proud for sure, bro. And I really like the fact that you speak about being gentle, being kind, because it's quite cool to think you're, in terms of who you want to be as a person, you're thinking about those things because they go a long way in life. Now, just before we end up, brother, is there anything else you'd like to get off your chest? If there's not, that's fine, but I've got to give that platform for you.
Ooh, wasn't expecting that one. I didn't even tell, but, I'd just like to express some gratitude, really. As I say, I'm a very reflective person, and I've thought a lot, and I've been given a lot recently, particularly from a man that we both know, Julius. He has actually helped me quite a lot recently. Obviously, I'm doing my dissertation. It's a qualitative piece on professional athlete support team members, so like physios, nutritionists, stuff like that. Nonsense. But it's difficult, right? It's really difficult to get those kinds of people to get involved in an undergrad project. And he's helped massively, to be honest. Like, I've got a few people in myself, reaching out to them on LinkedIn and stuff. But I don't think I could have done it without his help. So I just wanted to show some gratitude that A, he's willing to help me. B, all of them have been willing to help me. They've been great. They've been doing great interviews. And I just want to show some gratitude for the people currently in my life, you know, that have really helped me with that.
Brilliant, bro. Gratitude is an amazing thing. It's a fuel. I just thought one last question I want to ask you before we close up. If you were to be at this point next year, so 2026 has been wrapped up, it's been New Year for 2027. Looking back, what would have happened, or what would you have been as a person to make 2026 a success for you?
Obviously, it's a really pivotal time right now for all of us, being last year of uni. Big decisions coming up. And I don't know what my choice is going to be currently. Spoke about that a bit earlier. But I think as long as I make a choice that I'm confident with, I'll be really proud of myself. Because, as I say, before uni, I wasn't very ambitious. I wasn't very confident. I had all these things. Or didn't have all these things, sorry. If I make a choice that I'm confident in, and that I've put thought into, and that maybe is crazy, maybe it's like ridiculous, probably not going to happen, but if I'm willing to work to that, and if this point next year I am working towards that, then I'll be very happy with myself.
And would you say you're happy with understanding that that journey will take time, and that what if you left uni and that decision wasn't quite made yet and you took a bit more time?
Yeah, well, obviously I've been planning for all eventualities, really. Like, one thing I really want to do is travel. So if maybe the grad scheme applications don't pull through, then I work for a year. I get some relevant experience. I try and maybe get an internship or like shadow in something, and then I go traveling. I do it that way. I just sort of delay things. I think that's just as productive, you know. But definitely everything's just a process, and I'm not on like a linear path. No one is. Like, things are gonna happen. Even careers themselves, they're not really how we used to think of them. It's more so you have a job and you might change your mind, you go into a different job, and so it's not a linear thing anymore, and I think I'm comfortable with that. And I'm not really sure what the question was anymore. I think I've
just
got
about the fact that it's going to take time and your journey will be what it is, sort of thing.
But yeah, just being at peace with the fact that it is just a journey. I'm not going to make the right choices. It's my first time doing it. I'm not.
Exactly, bro. It's all our first time doing life.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, man. But brother, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you very much.
That's been Will France, Making It Moments. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being
much.
open with us. Take care. Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.